Welcome back to Speaking with Confidence, the podcast that helps you build the soft skills that lead to real results. Communication, storytelling, public speaking, and showing up with confidence in every conversation that counts. I'm Tim Newman, a recovering college professor turned communication coach, and I'm thrilled to guide you on a journey to becoming a powerful communicator. Today's guest is Alex Sanfilippo. Alex is a podcaster and the founder of PodMatch.com, a platform that automatically matches podcast hosts and guests for interviews. Through PodMatch and his podcast titled Podcasting Made Simple, Alex helps independent podcasters grow their influence and revenue so they can better serve their listeners. Alex, welcome to the show, bud.
Tim, thank you so much for having me. Really an honor to be here today.
You know, I'm so excited to have you for many, many reasons. But, you know, I tell everybody I talk to how you and the PodMatch team have really changed my life and the lives of podcasters all over the world. This is my 100th episode of Speaking with Confidence, and I would not have made it this far without your support and the support of the rest of the PodMatch team. So thank you so much.
Man, it's an honor to hear that. Like, as someone who's listened to your podcast for, it feels like years now. I don't know how long it's actually been, right? But because you said 100 episodes, I feel like, wait, I had to be listening a lot longer ago than that. But maybe not. But man, again, as someone who's listened, someone who's just who has learned from you, it means so much that you're using PodMatch. You're part of it, and seriously, congratulations on 100 episodes. The chances of making it there are like, it's very few and far between to ever see a podcaster make it that far, which just says so much more about you and the craft that you've created here. So thank you, Tim, for having me, and congratulations again. Well,
this is going to be fun. And again, I appreciate it. And I'm glad you said it's a craft, because that's kind of how I talk about it. You know, I don't want to, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I work hard at this. I work hard at becoming a better podcaster, becoming a better interviewer, becoming a better communicator, better listener, all those things, because, one of the things that is you harp on a lot, which really resonates with me, is providing value to whoever it is that we're working with, that we're dealing with in any given moment. And it's just so important.
I couldn't agree more. I believe that, like, value has to be the center of everything we do. And if it's not, I think maybe that our motives are misaligned at times. Mm-hmm. And so I only see people reach 100 episodes of their podcast and beyond if their motive is to serve somebody, to add value, to make it more than about themselves. The individuals mm-hmm. that kind of look internal, listeners feel it, right? Like,
they do.
I mean, we can see it when people are on stage. You can kind of see that anywhere where there's someone who's clearly in it for themselves. The rest of us are kind of like, something feels off here, right?
Right. But let me take that just one step further, because you said something in our pre-interview chat that again, to me, was very, very powerful. You said that sometimes we diminish our own worth as leaders, thinking, we've only played a small part. Why do you think so many high impact people struggle to acknowledge their own value for other people? Because I definitely do. I had a conversation just last week with a former student, and I said, all I did was put you in a position to be successful. And he was telling me, well, what he was doing with somebody else, and that he just said the same thing. I said, but you did it. If it weren't for you, that person wouldn't have been successful. But I'm not accepting for myself. So that really resonates with me.
Me too. And I'm just going to say, for you, for everyone listening, Tim, you know this, but everyone listening, this is a struggle of mine as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, people call it imposter syndrome. There's all kinds of names for it beyond that, even these days. Mm-hmm. And it's a real feeling. Like, we don't want to overplay the value that we've added, the role that we've played. And mm-hmm. some of that could be humility, which is, of course, better than the opposite, right?
Yeah, right.
Nonetheless, it's tough for a lot of us to just accept the fact that, like, hey, we made a real impact in someone else's life, or in a market, or in a community, whatever it might mm-hmm. be. It's really tough. And the reality is, like, I don't have like the answer. Like, I wish I had be like, but all you have to do is, right. Like, it's not that, but it's surrounding yourself with the right people that remind you, hey man, you're doing more than you think. Like, Tim, when you and I talked, I reminded you, I'm like, hey, you are helping a lot of people literally do what your podcast is about. You're teaching people to speak mm-hmm. with confidence, and there is real impact happening. There are people's lives that have been changed because of that. And when we hear it from somebody else that we love, we respect, we even admire a little bit, right? We're able to say, okay, they're right. It's just harder for me to say that. So for me, the biggest thing that I do is I surround myself with people not that like puff me up full of pride, right? But they will say, hey, Alex, you are doing something good. You're
Right.
doing something important. At the same time, they're the first people to beat me up when I'm doing something wrong, right? So it kind of keeps you humble in that whole like that circle, if you will.
But I think those people are critical to success because, like
Yeah.
you said, and here I go, I'm honing in right on that piece. If you mess something up, they tell you about it because a lot of times we do surround ourselves with people who are just going to tell us we're great, but I would much rather have somebody tell me that I'm messing something up and I need to straighten it out, or I need to get better at this, or whatever it is. Because again, it comes back to being better at craft, being better individuals, being better people, and providing more value to others.
I think I used to feel that same way, Tim, but I've kind of hit the point now where I'm tired of getting beat up. like from the people I love, right? Like not in a bad way, but I'm like,
Right.
point out my flaws, like tell me I can do better. And I had so much of that happening that it honestly, I felt beat up. I felt like I was kind of getting burnt out, and I think I just needed some love, like, well, tell me I'm not terrible, right? And so I think that there truly has to be a balance here because for guys like you and I, they're high achievers. Yes, we love to know when something's wrong because that's our number one spot to be able to fix. Great, fixed it. What's next? Okay, what's next? Sometimes it's good to say, hey, slow down a minute. You're doing such a good job. Look at the impact it's having. And for me, I'm like, oh, wait, I breathe. You're right. There is something good here, right? It's not all bad or things to improve. But I think a lot of high achievers, we really struggle with that. So for me, I'm hitting this point of balance where I'm okay to say, hey, I need some love right now. Not tough love. I just need someone to tell me I'm good. Like it's going a long way in my walk these days.
Well, and I think you talked a little bit about that, in an episode of Podcasting Made Simple a couple weeks ago with Chase Jarvis. And again, that episode, there's, I'm sure you find this too, that there's certain episodes that just hit you right your heart. I mean, and you go, wow, I'm not the only one. Wow, that makes so much sense. It really kind of brings things out. And in one point in that episode, you all were talking about creativity and play and fun, right? And I tell the story that I got into podcasting because my life, there was no fun in my life, zero. I mean, I had a lot of things going on, family, sickness, and all kinds of types of things. And I started the Golf Week podcast because I wanted to do something fun, and I had no idea where it was going to take me. And this is where it is now, and that to me was so important to understand that I wasn't the only one that had kind of lost my way in that sense. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you talked about that episode with Chase Jarvis, and thank you for calling that out, by the way. It was a great conversation. And for me as well, like when I was even prepping for it, reading his book and talking with him, same thing. I realized I had cut play, joy, and fun out of what I do for my job, right? Like, yes, I run a company that I love. I have a lot of fun with it, but we can all kind of blur that line, right? Where it's like, hey, you can't do this and lose your soul, right? Like it is not worth it. Like you could become the greatest speaker on the planet, but if you don't have some joy in it, you don't enjoy it from time to time, you are going to lose yourself in it. And maybe everyone in the world thinks that you're amazing, but like, do you? And I think that's a really valid question. And so for me, I had to sit back and realize that like, yeah, on paper, I've been achieving a lot. But when I look at myself in the mirror, am I really happy? Am I having a lot of fun? Like, and like not every minute of every day has to be fun, right? Like I'm not scared of doing hard work, right? But there's got to be, once again, some form of balance. And relearning that, rehearing that, like you, Tim, it just reshaped things for me. So I've been having more fun. And sometimes it means closing my laptop when I'm done versus like, well, there's other things I can do, right? It means I'm leaving, I'm out of here today because I did enough work to be done today. And I think that so many of us, we need that reminder that like joy, fun, just the journey, the process itself can be just as beautiful as the destination.
Yeah. I mean, I tell people I could work 24/7 for like 5 years and it'll never be done. It'll never be done. I mean, and so the whole idea of taking that step back and injecting fun in what we do as well, because I think specifically in terms of communication, how the dynamic changes when you are having fun. and that comes across. Your tone changes, your body language changes, your face changes, and how that's received by whoever it is that you're talking to, whether it's one person, whether it's a small group, whether it's a big arena, doesn't really matter. They really do kind of feed off of that and feel that, and it changes the whole dynamic of whatever it is that you're talking about.
It really does. And I hadn't really thought about this, Tim, but you can tell when somebody's having a good time
Yeah.
versus not, right? Like you can see
Right.
it. And just out of curiosity, like what are you doing like to interject more fun? Like is there any practical things that you could help me with, right? Like, and hopefully the listeners as well.
Oh, I make fun of myself a lot because, when you kind of said it in that episode, I don't take myself very seriously at all. I really don't. And if I mess up, I laugh. If I'm speaking, like if I'm speaking on stage and I say something silly, I'll laugh or whatever. And even in podcasting, I tell people I don't edit. The only thing I'll edit for me is either the read in or the read out, because that has to be perfect. But if we're having this conversation and I say something dumb or whatever, I laugh at it and roll with it, because what's the worst thing? I mean, we're just talking. It's just like two friends talk. It is what it is. You wouldn't go to your friend and say, you know what, erase that from your brain and your memory. I'm going to start over again. Right. So
Right.
that's one for me, but also, to spend time doing things that are fun, whatever it is. I'm part of an accountability group right now, and one of the pieces in that accountability group is to spend more time, non-work time, with my wife. I mean, my wife and I are like you and Alicia. We work together, almost everything that we do, right? And for a while, it's just been every conversation has been about work, and for me, it's what, we're going to spend more time doing husband-wife things, fun things, whatever it is, and not talking about work. So finding those things that you have is really important. And for me, the other thing, I got to talk about my grandkids. That is my real fun for now.
Oh, that's so cool. Like making fun of yourself, like not in a bad way, obviously, like as you
Right.
just shared, but like I think that's huge. And then like
Mhm.
doing things that doing things that are fun, spend time with your family. Like I love that stuff. That two more that I'll add real quick that have worked for me is one, to turn it into a joke. Like
Yeah.
I like wrote down those words, turn it into a joke. And all that means is sometimes we have to do some really hard work. Can I make it fun? Because Alicia, my wife, and I, as you just mentioned, we work in the same place. Like we are, and we do the same stuff, right? So sometimes we're like tackling something together. It's like really difficult. And like I've always been kind of like a witty, loud person. So I'll just throw some random joke out there that like makes it much less serious, and it always gets a laugh from her. That's one thing I think I've maintained even after we got married in 2012. So after this long of marriage, being able to continue to get her to laugh. And so sometimes she's like, wow, how did you turn that into a joke? Right. And like, but it's fun. And then we go finish it, we get it done. Right. And the other thing is I spend time intentionally reflecting within my day, reminding myself like, hey, did I do something that was fun? What was that win? What was fun today? Not because I have to teach myself to say, yeah, that was fun, but just so I can remember to be on the lookout for it during the day as well. So I can highlight those moments and it caused my memory to like be in that moment saying, oh, this is actually fun. I'm going to remember this later tonight when I'm reflecting.
Right.
Those two things have helped me a lot as well.
Yeah. And have you found when you do that, you wake up happier too?
100%. Oh yeah. Yeah. It went from I used to be like go to sleep stressed, wake up stressed type of thing, and now it's like I go to bed like, man, I did some cool stuff today. Next day I'm like, I wonder what I'm gonna do today. Right. So like it's weird, but it totally works. And a lot of people had told me for years that would work. I didn't believe it, and I tried it, and I'm like, uh-oh, they were right.
and at least for me, and I think for others as well, by having that, in your wheelhouse, in your repertoire, whatever you want to call it, it takes some of the stress or the things that we had, that imposter syndrome. It kind of cuts the edge off of that a little bit too, and it makes some of the things that we do a little bit easier. I'm not saying it makes it easy, because we still have to do the hard thing, but it makes it a little bit easier if we can look at it in that little bit of a different way.
Yeah. And It definitely does. I think that's 100% right.
So you started your career as an entrepreneur when you were 10, selling golf balls, and I love this. I love this story. Obviously, I do a lot of a lot of work in the golf space, but I see kids on golf courses all the time selling golf balls, and I think about you uh, when I see them. What did you learn at 10 years old in terms of selling and communicating that
Yeah.
has kind of stayed with you?
Yeah, it's funny, like being a 10-year-old kid who starts selling used golf balls back to golfers. Many of them had their initials on 'em. Eventually, we knew who was who, right? So, like, you'd be like, "This guy, he always hits his ball in the water." And, yeah, I learned a lot from it, and a lot of it is kinda, like, retrospective. Like, you kinda look back and you're like, "Okay, I realized there were some things that, like, I learned there that I carried with me on an ongoing basis." One was to negotiate with adults. And
Okay,
so,
yeah.
like, now that I'm an adult, it's like, okay, negotiating with adults, negotiating with people maybe further along than I am, that maybe that don't look up to me the way that they would look up to their peers, right? Like, I'm
Mhm.
okay in those settings, mostly because when I was a kid, believe it or not, some golfers really like to try to get a deal, and they like to try to, like, trick a kid to be like, "Oh, I'll give you $5 for 3." I'm like, "Wait, it should be 6,"
Right,
right? Like,
right, right.
something along those lines. But that was the first thing I learned, was to negotiate. In addition to that, like, to actually have a coherent conversation
Mhm.
just around a topic that maybe I didn't really know. Because the thing is, I didn't really know golf back then. Like, I ended up playing later and enjoyed it, but at that point, I hadn't ever played golf before. But I learned how to keep a conversation going, how to learn, how to apply it, how to speak the lingo. It was the world I was in as a 10-year-old kid, right?
Right.
And so, but I just learned to communicate well about the game of golf. And eventually, watching so many golfers hit off the tee, I figure out what a good and bad shot was, right?
Okay.
Like, and as a 10-year-old kid who never played, I was proud of it. And there was other kids that were, like, alongside me. It wasn't just me sitting out there alone. There was 5 or 6 of us in total, I'd say. But they uh, always asked me to be the one to talk. So they're like, "Hey, we'll do all the work. You got to talk to these golfers and convince them to buy stuff." And so, like, those things, negotiating, learn to communicate really well,
Mhm.
carrying myself somewhat professionally, even as a kid. Like, I learned these things, like, starting at 10 years old, and carried them with me.
And that's really so important because, like you said, you already have those practice and skills. And I heard somebody speak just the other day that kind of hit a little bit different as well. As kids, we already have experience in selling and negotiation. We don't think about, like, with your parents. Can I stay up later? How do you convince your parents to stay up later? How do you convince your parents to buy stuff, or whatever it is? And we don't think about that, but it's true. We do have negotiation and selling skills when we're younger, but we don't translate it over. And so you as a 10-year-old having that business it's critical, and really probably has really elevated you above your peers with who you grew up with.
Yeah, it's a great practice. So for anyone listening today, like, this is a little takeaway for you. Think back to the first thing you did as a kid that you thought
Mhm,
was really successful. Whether it was, like, getting your bedtime moved, upping your
mhm.
allowance, like, whatever it might be,
Whatever
right?
it
I
is.
don't know what
Right.
generation everyone grew up
Uh-huh.
in. Whatever your phase was, think about that first thing. And for me, it was actually this story that Tim, I'm grateful you brought me selling golf balls. That was, like, the first thing I'd say I did that was like, this was a success. And then sit down and think about, okay, what are the 3 to 5 lessons I learned from that I still carry today? Like, what
Mhm.
are the highlights? And those things I just talked about, Tim, like, I've done that practice. Like, I didn't have the thing off the top of my head right now. Like, I already knew that's what I learned from this. And I think it's actually a really great practice because it kind of can speak to where you are today, whether that's in your ability to speak, communicate, lead, whatever it might be. You can go back to some of those early lessons in life and be like, yeah, you know what? I did learn these 3 things from it. And I think it actually elevates even further when you bring it to your
Yeah,
recognition.
yeah. It really does. There's so much that you again that you can learn from that. If you can think back and you said something a little bit ago that you take time to go back and go through your day. What did you learn? Those types of things are so important. That's something that really helps people grow, right? Um, because otherwise we end up doing the same things over and over again, and we don't really ever get better. Um, and
Yeah.
to me, it's just so important.
Yeah, if if we don't track it, then we
Right.
don't really know what's going on, right? You
Mhm.
gotta track it. And I might be a little bit over the top with that. I will admit, like I have a daily planner that I use, all that type of stuff. But I'll tell you what, it's made a big difference in my life. And
Mhm.
like I know where I was yesterday versus where I am today.
Mhm.
And regularly had a friend the other day. I had a question for him. Went to dinner, and it was me and him and our wives. And I was like, "Hey man, I got a question for you. Let me run into the car and grab my planner." And I told him, like, this is a topic I'm focused on for the next 85 days, 90 days total. I'm 5 days
Mhm.
in. I have a question. And he goes, "Of course you do this every day." And like that was all he said. He had nothing else. He was like, "Of course you do." He's like, "You're the
Right.
guy who would do that." And he's like,
Mhm.
"And in 90 days from now, you'll know this topic better than anyone I know." And anyway, it was just one of those things. It's like, hey, like I want something specific to come out of this. So I'm going to be specific with my time,
Right.
with what I want to learn.
And I think here's the other piece to that. You know, that's what works for you, right? Something else may work for somebody else, but whatever it is, you need to find out whatever it is that works for you and do it. Don't do nothing. Find what works for you and do it every day. And you know, John Maxwell, when he talked to John Maxwell, he says, "What do you mean you do it every day?" He said, "What does that mean?" He says, "It means every day." It doesn't mean every other day. It doesn't mean every third day. When he says he does something every day, that means he does it every day. You know, and that's what really, you know, precipitates that change, right?
Yeah. And I think the daily habit, having a
Mhm.
routine, it's important. Like if we want to go places, we've got to be willing to do that.
Right,
And
right,
so whatever works for you, as you said, because everyone's brain
right.
is different. Some people love digital stuff. I
Mhm.
actually, sure, I'm a software founder, but I
Mhm.
mostly do stuff on pen and paper,
Yeah,
and that's just what works for me.
yeah. I'm all digital. I mean, everything. Primarily because if I write something down, nobody can read it, including myself. So,
Should have been a
so
doctor, Tim. Should have been a doctor.
well, you know,
College professor. You're training
see,
doctors. You were close.
yeah, exactly. So, but let's move forward a little bit in your life. You got into corporate life, and you said once when you left corporate life and started PodMatch, you had to become a different kind of communicator. Um, how did that transition change you, and what did you mean by a different kind of communicator?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, after 15 years in big corporate, I was in the aerospace industry. For listeners, I wasn't an
Mhm.
astronaut, wasn't a skydiver, wasn't a fighter pilot. Like, wasn't the interesting stuff. Worked behind a computer. Love that job. I did it for 15 years before moving into what I'm doing now, which I consider to be more of a calling. But during that 15 years, like, I was a company guy. So, like, now, if I go back, I used to run meetings. Now I host gatherings, right? That's like one shift.
That's
When I
huge.
used to
Mhm.
speak at conferences, I spoke on behalf of that company, not of myself or my own brand. Like I was trained to do exactly what I was supposed to do. It's completely different. And I really thought, Tim, that when I left that job, moved into this, it would all just be a
Mhm.
natural segue. It's not.
It's
I
not.
mean, it's totally different. Like,
Mhm.
because now I'm representing myself because it is my brand, my company, right? So it's like, okay,
Mhm.
well, who's this Alex guy who runs this company? That's who I want to know. When previously it was like, oh, this is a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded company. This is a spokesperson for that brand, right? Like, it's not
Right.
the same at all. And I thought that they would translate. And of course, some of the soft skills and stuff like that, like they translate, right? But the mindset was so different, man. And like,
Mhm.
I'll be real, I did not transition well with that. Or I shouldn't say it was a good transition. It just took a lot longer than it should have because I just felt like I was starting over completely. I lost what felt like all the confidence I built up over
Mhm.
the years because it's just now it's me, and that's not what I was used to.
So was there something specific that you struggled with, or was it just confidence? You know, because I'm the same way. What I did in the way I communicated in higher education is very different here, right? And I've kind of struggled in changing that as well. But was there something that you struggled with, or was it just your confidence in the communication?
I'd say the very first thing was feeling like I didn't have a real story because I started
Mm,
listening to podcasts before I got
okay.
into them. And back then there wasn't as many podcasts. So like the shows I was listening to were the same big shows that all of it, I say
Right.
big shows, like the high listener shows, mostly celebrity run. And so I kind of felt like that was going to be the standard when I got into podcasting and into speaking because it was kind of, they happened at exactly the same time. But you know, I actually think what I needed was a conversation you recently had on your podcast. I'm blanking on her last name, but you had someone named Rachel on. The title of it was, I wrote it down, is Mastering Body Language in Authentic authenticity in public
Mm-hmm.
speaking.
Mm-hmm.
She said this quote, which really stood out to me. She said, the stories you share don't have to be all big and heroic.
Right.
Not having these resonates with people more. I struggled with the opposite of that because I was listening to like these greats now, the pillars of our industry,
Mm-hmm.
thinking, I don't have stories like these guys and like these ladies. Like what am I going to share that's going to make me stand out at all? Like I had a pretty typical job, good childhood, like nothing traumatic. Like I don't have any like story that's going to be like, oh man, this guy, like he overcame everything, right? Like that didn't really happen. And yes, I've had highs and lows, of course. So I'm not like downplaying my own life, but I really struggled with the idea of I don't have anything that's worth anyone wanting to actually listen to and lean in for. And I could not have been more wrong. And by the
Mm-hmm.
way, I encourage everyone, go listen to Rachel in that episode. I don't know if you can link to it or something, Tim, later. But
Yeah, I'll link
I,
to that.
my point is that was my struggle, was thinking that my stories and my experience was not enough to warrant me having a stage, whether that be virtual through my podcast or on a podcast conference stage.
Yeah, it's. I'm with you, 100% with you. You know, when you do academic presentations at academic conferences, it's. By the way, I would rather poke myself in the eyeballs than do that. But
Wow.
it's much different than getting on a stage and talking about something else. It's much different than podcasting. It's so much different, and it's the same skill, but it requires different things. And one of the things that I'm working on now is telling 3-minute stories, right? And my coach is he's pulling things out of me. And I told a story a couple weeks ago that my wife didn't even know about. And she said, wow, I didn't know about that. But it's pulling them out and finding a way to make them relatable and providing value and teaching something out of that story. And it's a much more difficult process than people actually think. Because again, one, I don't like talking about myself. Number two, it's how am I going to make this mean something to somebody else? If my wife didn't even know about it, we've been married close to 30 years, right? So it's a difficult skill.
That for sure. Like to me, it doesn't sound like an easy skill. By the way, maybe some people are like, "Oh, I got that." That sounds really complex. But
It is.
To your point here, like those personal stories that you're kind of drawing out and stuff like that. That's exactly what I ultimately need to learn. Is just be more transparent. Like it wasn't to dress up my stories to make them sound bigger than they were, so I could sound like everyone else in the space, and nothing to do with that. It had to do with me learning to be transparent. When I was working for a company, my job was to not be transparent, right? I shouldn't say that. Me, Alex Sanfilippo, not be transparent, but be transparent about the company, right? So I was representing a brand, a company, a product, right? Now, yes, I might still have a product service that's mine, but people want to know, okay, who's the guy behind this? Like that is the direction the world has moved in, especially when you're working in a creator economy like this. You want to know, who is this person? And so I had to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Right.
Like I'll be real, like after years of experience with like my talking points, my notes that kind of keep Alex's personal life out of it, to now stepping into fully like, hey, here's what I'm struggling with. Here's where I'm at. That was a tough transition. And I'll be real. It was a couple of years ago. I cried on a stage. And
yeah,
Tim,
I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's go.
So where did that come from? And what did you learn from that? Because the first time I was on stage, I threw up.
I haven't done that, Tim.
Okay, same.
I think I draw the line somewhere.
So where did that come from? How did that happen?
It was one of the first times I decided to share a story of mine. So when I was growing up, I really struggled with dyslexia, which again, like, it's something I've not really shared because, like, I mean, praise God, I feel like I overcame that. Like I've not stood that in a long time, but it's one of those things that, like, talking about it made me emotional, but not because of the dyslexic side. It was because of like the grace my mom had with me. And it was actually speaking at it was a women's creator conference. They always like to have one token guy keynote. And so they chose me. And I knew I wanted to get better at sharing personal stories. I had started like really doing this, but that was definitely the most personal thing I'd ever shared. I don't think I'd ever actually voiced it ever. And it was one of those things that, like, I just started talking and started sharing it. I don't know what hit me, man, but because I'm not usually like much of a crier, but I couldn't get myself together for a second. And I felt embarrassed. I felt like, hey, there's no way they're going to have me. Like, they would never tell anyone that was a good speaker,
Mm.
right? After, like, these are the thoughts that are running through my head.
Right.
But in fact, the exact, and you know this, Tim, the exact opposite was true. Like,
Right.
it apparently was like one of their best talks I've ever had. Like, there was a line of people to give me a hug afterwards. Actually, I think it was like 300 hugs in the line or something like that. And so, but it was one of those things that, like, I was like, wait, this was actually good. Like, to my previous standard, I would have probably gotten written up for something like that, right? Like,
Right.
when I was doing for the job, and rightfully so. But now it's me representing me and my brand that's very much so aligned with who I am, and that's a good thing, right? Like, it really
Yes.
messed with my head. But man, like, I just started sharing transparently, and tears are what came up when I was doing that.
You know, and it's funny, not that you were in that position, but it's funny how that happens, right? It's funny how it's the exact opposite of what we actually think. And because we've been telling ourselves this for forever, right? That we have to be buttoned up. We have to be on point. We can't make mistakes. We can't show emotion. We can't show anything other than we're laser focused on whatever the messaging is. And if we're not, we're a failure. And it's the exact opposite.
It is the exact opposite. And I think that people that are up and coming speakers, that's a hard thing to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially more type A people like me. Like, I love a good 3-point, topic message. Like, give me 5 ways to do this. Like, and I love to share that way. But I have learned that if I'm going to share that way, it's got to start and end with a story. It's got to start and end with some transparency. It can't just be the facts anymore. The world is changing. The way that people learn is changing.
Mm-hmm.
And for the up and coming speaker that's like, no, the person who knows their 5 points the best is the best. I actually think now it's a person who can interject themselves into those 5 points the best, transparently, in a really raw way. At least for me, even as someone attending an event, that's what I resonate with more than anything. And like, I'm not saying don't be polished, don't know your talking points. I'm not saying that at all.
Right.
I'm just saying you've got to be the core of it, because we can go find those talking points somewhere else probably.
Right.
What makes it resonate with somebody is the way that you interject yourself into it. And it sounds counterculture. It sounds totally against conventional wisdom. But Tim, like, are you seeing the same thing? Like, I really want to ask you that, because it's what I'm seeing these days.
Absolutely. I mean, that's when I stopped being buttoned up. That's when I started getting better. That's when I started, having a little bit more interaction and engagement with the audience. That's when I started seeing more feedback. When I stopped trying to be perfect, stopped trying to be buttoned up, right? And to your point, I want to make sure that the audience hears this and we're clear. We're not saying that you don't prepare. We're not saying that you don't do the things that you need to do to be good. You still have to do those things. All we're saying is give more of yourself. Show some more of your personality, of who you are, of your story. How did you come to this point? Whatever it is that you're talking about. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, I think that I think this is just like we both said, this direction things are going in. Like, it really is. And for me, I can remember someone who shared a story versus a point, which I think is all of history, right? Like, we can remember stories, not necessarily the points. But when someone does just a beautiful job interjecting those two things with their own emotion, doesn't need tears like me, right? With their own emotion involved in it, like, man, does it land, right? Because then you can connect all the dots. But they shared this story and their point was this, right? Like, versus disconnecting the two. And so I think it should be freeing, because the day of having to be the perfect speaker that is just like flawless, I think is just not what people are resonating with anymore, not as interested in. And like, you and I as speakers, though, of course, we look at those individuals like, wow, like 45-minute presentation, not one error, perfect from start to finish. When somebody listening who's just trying to learn might be like, huh, what are you talking about? Right. Like,
exactly.
Like, they might not realize that. And that the thing is, because they're looking for the connection between them, I should say, and the person on stage. And I know I don't mean to talk in circles, Tim. I just kind of passionate about this topic these days.
No, I mean, the more people hear that, the more it's going to resonate. The more hopefully that they're going to listen to it and then be able to act on that and become that. Because I think that's the That's really all we want. And it could be on stage. It could be at a job interview, Alex. I mean,
Right.
right? I mean, where else do you really need to connect with somebody than at a job interview? You know, that to me is so important. You know, getting you and your message and who you are across to whoever's doing the hiring. It's if you can't do that anymore, because again, you, there's so many people out in the job market, so many people that have the same skills that you do. What sets you apart? What sets you apart is who you are and your story, and how you can come across and tell that story and connect with whoever it is that's doing that hiring. So important.
Yeah, I actually like the idea of even thinking about my future talks on stage as a job interview. I don't have a full thought on that yet, but I actually like the idea of even just like before I get on stage, thinking about this as like a job interview versus, because I act different on a job interview than I would on a stage, but maybe there's some connection there. So that's wise. I like that, Tim.
Well, don't go too far off the other end. You know, I'm a full-time RVer, and I was doing a job interview on the phone and started talking about, living full-time in an RV. And I just kept on talking. And we ended up talking about, emptying the black water tank, which is a toilet. And my daughter is in the other room. She just come home from college and saying, "Dad, stop talking. Dad, stop talking. Dad, stop talking." I never heard from him again. So I didn't get the job. There's
a balance, Tim. I got
there is a balance.
Thanks, Coach Tim. I appreciate you looking out for me.
It's you've got to know when's enough. So, but yeah. What is speaking with confidence in your own words?
It's from the heart. First off, it's got to come from the heart. It's got to be something that really gets you going, that you're excited about. The only way you can have confidence can't be faked. So it's got to be the things that you like truly believe, that you truly are excited about. And then you just get out there and talk. And for me, I always just imagine a room of one person who showed up because they know that they need to hear what I'm going to share. And that's the only way I can really speak with confidence, is if I show up thinking of that one person, sharing with passion, sharing from what I actually really know. That's when I connect the best.
So let me ask a kind of a follow-up question. When you're getting ready to go on stage, what's running through your head?
Well, first is the nerves, right? That we all get. Was it Mark Twain, I think, who said the quote, "There's two types of speakers in the world. There's those that don't get nervous," or what is it? Those that get nervous and those that are liars. Is that
right?
Is that
right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so the first thing is the nerves are always there, but that's my trigger, my reminder to think of two things. Number one is I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing it for them.
Right.
That's the very first thing. I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for them. And there's just one person here I need to serve. I literally say those things out loud before I walk onto the stage, just to me, just to myself. And I literally am like, "Alex, you're here to serve somebody else, not yourself. And there's one person here who really, really needs you today. Get out there and help them." And that, for me, just deep breath following that, like, calms me down. It reminds me, like, hey, I'm not here to perform or to be some form of, sure, I need to be entertaining, but I'm not the entertainment. There's someone here who needs me, and my job is to find them and help them.
Right.
And that has helped me so much, man.
So when you do that and you go through that process, do you feel like a weight's lifted as you're walking on stage, because it's okay, this is what I'm doing, and now as I'm walking up, I'm ready to go and do that. Do you feel like there's a weight lifted, or is it still there until you actually start talking?
No, the second I don't know what it is, Tim, and you're much more experienced than I am on this, so you might be able to like articulate better than I can. I'm going to try here for everyone listening, but the second I start walking on the stage, it's like I go into a different mode. I'm never talking about something that I don't know about. Like, I will not accept a stage where someone's like, "Oh, Alex can probably talk about this." Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, it is my topic, which is pretty much podcasting, like being a guest or being a host, right? Like, that's what I talk about. And sure, I run a software company, but I don't speak at software conferences. Like, I don't actually know that craft as well as some people do. I understand podcasting. Like, that is what I know. Those are the stages I go on. So once I'm there, there's no real like, "Oh, I'm going to remember my points." No, I know my points. Like, I can say them in my sleep, right? Like, I know what I'm going to talk about. It's just the anticipation of getting there. And sometimes it can even start like a week before I'm gonna give a
Mm-hmm.
talk. Like it'll just hit me. Like, I'll
Yeah.
be like, oh man, I'm giving a talk in a week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, right? And that's kind of like where the nerves come back up. And even then I'll start telling myself like, it's not for me. Right. But
Right.
it feels like the second I hit that stage, I'm in a different mindset, a different mode, and all the nerves are completely gone. Like, I guess at that point, whatever happens. Maybe I just come to terms with the reality. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So for me, the weight doesn't get lifted until I start talking. I mean, and again, I get it. It's me putting that pressure on me because again, I want to make sure that I'm providing value. I mean, that's to me, that's the sole purpose. I'm here to provide that value, and it doesn't lift. Sometimes it doesn't lift till after I'm a couple minutes in, and I start to feel the rhythm or feel the I feel myself breathing again, and so it really kind of depends. Do you have a walk up song?
I recently got asked this, Tim. I didn't have one, but now I do. It's a song called "Loyal" by Odessa. And just because you get a first, like, I don't know, 20 seconds of it, 30 seconds of it. And I don't know why I've always really enjoyed that song. So when someone asked me, I said that that's what I wanted to be. But if you would have asked me a month before this time, I'd be like, I don't know. Right. So, but now I do. "Loyal" by Odessa, I think is my walk-on song.
See, sometimes I play it in my head. Like I hear it in my head.
So you have one and you play your song in your head, even if it's not playing.
Even if it's not playing. Right.
That's cool. I like that.
It's for me, it's just a strategy to, number one, to get me fired up, to bring some energy out there. And number two, to let some of that other pressure go. Yeah. So that I'm actually ready to provide that value, ready to talk about whatever it is that I'm going to be talking about.
I'm going to start. I might even listen to my song before I start. Like, that's cool. That's a good insight, Tim. Thank you. That's a good hack right there. I like it.
So what's one practical thing our audience can start doing today to communicate or serve more confidently? Because you and I are big believers in, if you're going to spend some time listening to this, we want you to be able to walk away and start doing something now to be better or to get over whatever it is. What can they do?
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off the last thing that I just talked about, which is remembering that you're there to serve someone else, not yourself, and you're there for one person. That's what works for me. Come up with something like that works for you, and don't just be like, okay, I'll say this next time I'm going on stage. No, start now. Start in your prep. So as you're preparing for your next talk, find the things that really resonate with you, that calm you down, that bring you to the proper center. Like, listen, the nerves are going to be there, and that's okay. It's actually not a problem. Like, we wouldn't really be human if we didn't get nervous about stuff. But like, here's another example of something that I like to do. If I ever just feel like I can't overcome the nerves, I remind myself, I'm not actually nervous. I'm just really excited. I'm not nervous. I'm just really excited. And that comes up a lot more in like my prep. So like, if I feel like I'm over prepping for something, I start getting nervous. I'm like, ooh, this is me a lot to remember. I'm not nervous. I'm just excited to get to share this information. Find your thing like that and start voicing that now. And let that follow you all the way up till the time you're walking on the stage, or even a couple minutes after on stage. But figure those few things out, write them down, and start repeating them. When you find the right ones, I actually find that they're really helpful.
Alex, that is so good, because it's a mindset shift. I mean, just like that, being nervous to being excited. I mean, it's a completely different thought and feeling.
Yeah, it is, but chemically, it's actually really similar in our brain. I looked at the science one time. So it's like in your brain, being nervous or being excited are actually very, very similar, believe it or not. So, but you're right. It's you feel completely different when you say I'm nervous or I'm excited. Like, you look at someone different if they say that too, right?
Right.
Like, it's a full shift. And for me, that's another one of those really helpful things along the way when I'm prepping.
And I'm sure the body language and facial expressions change too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's awesome. Where can people connect with you?
Yeah, Tim, again, thank you for having me. Congratulations on 100 episodes, man. Like, that's the main thing I want to say. Like, 100 episodes is just like unheard of in the podcasting space. And I know that you're still honestly just getting started, the impact that you're having and going to have. So first and foremost, again, thank you. For anyone who enjoyed this day, want to learn more about me, podmatch.com/free. Spoiler, everything I do is in podcasting. So podmatch.com/free will just give you 9 ideas to be a podcast host, to be a podcast guest. If you're already one or the other, 9 ideas to really help you move forward. I don't ask for your email address or anything like that. It's just my way of being able to help. So if podcasting or podcast guesting might be a thing for you, podmatch.com/free. But my main suggestion, hang with Tim. You're really taking people places, man. As a listener myself, again, thank you.
Alex, thank you so much. I appreciate you just saying that. But I also encourage listeners to be a guest on a podcast, because you're listening to them, get that feeling, get that get on it and share your thoughts and ideas. It'll change your life. It'll change how you approach things and how you look at things. So I appreciate you doing that. And Alex, I can't thank you enough for all that you've done, for me, for this podcast, for podcasting, and for joining me today. I really do appreciate it, buddy.
Tim, again, thank you. It's an honor to have been here today.
All right, we'll see you. Actually, we'll see you soon. Podfest, right?
Yes, we will. We'll look forward to it.
It's going to be awesome. Thanks so much. Take care. Be sure to visit speakingwithconfidencepodcast.com to get your free ebook, Top 21 Challenges for Public Speakers and How to Overcome Them. You can also register for the Forming for Public Speaking course. Always remember, your voice has the power to change the world. We'll talk to you next time. Take care. That's it for today's episode. But before you go, don't forget to grab your copy of my brand new book, Connections That Count: How to Transform Your Network into Influence, Leadership, and Career Growth. Available now on Amazon. It's time to turn your network into real influence and career growth. Pick it up today and start making your connections count.